So most of us are familiar with the right to free speech guaranteed in the First Amendment of the United States Constitution. It's been upheld many times, even for speech that people find offensive, and even for speech that goes against the state. However, there's now a threat to free speech, and it's not coming from the state. It's coming from the culture that lives within it. And we've seen this many times. Most notable example I can give, the Canadian Association for Equality at the University of Toronto, being loudly protested by angry feminists who eventually pulled the fire alarm. Oh, and they did this twice. And then we also see people being disinvited from speaking on college campuses because a bunch of people are offended by what they have to say. Most often, we see them in the form of outrage mobs, claiming that everyone who disagrees with them has views that are dangerous. So Edward Snowden, on Twitter, tweeted this: "An individual trying to limit speech at universities is interested in neither university nor justice." I agree with Snowden. Suppression of speech in any capacity by anyone is antithetical to the free exchange of ideas, which should be what a university is all about. This is why you should let people who disagree with you speak. Because you give them a platform, let them speak their ideas, then you use your own platform to dismantle them. However, we have a problem. This new wave of neo-progressives, as I've heard them being called, also known as social justice warriors, well, they think the best solution to speech they disagree with is just try to not let anyone talk. And the responses to Snowden's tweet show many of the tactics they like to use to try and suppress speech. So the first one asks, what if it's hate speech? We'll ignore the rest of the tweet. Hate speech gets thrown around a lot by social justice warriors. The only problem is, who gets to decide what's hate speech? What is hate speech? They don't know. They can't really answer. And let's just say we did manage to outlaw hate speech. Now, what stops a corrupt, authoritarian, tyrannical government from declaring that ideas dissenting from some kind of state-mandated opinion is hate speech? What stops that? Here's a hint. Nothing. Don't be stupid. Limiting harassment is not the same thing as limiting speech. What? How does speech harass you? How is someone not agreeing with you harassment? Christina Hoff Sommers was protested when speaking at Oberlin College. I mean, this woman doesn't even talk very stridently. She's not aggressive in her approach at all, and yet somehow that's harassment? What is wrong with you people? What if that speech is just used to oppress and hurt others? Should we be encouraging that? How does speech oppress you? This is as stupid as the harassment one. And this is another common tactic. They like to claim that, it's oppressive to people, or in some cases I've heard, it's an act of violence. That's right, an act of violence because someone doesn't agree with somebody. Aren't these people hilarious? And by hilarious, I mean horrifying. Bernie Sanders, left-wing, almost socialist, spoke at Liberty University, a very conservative Christian college. There were no huge protests, and I'm pretty sure the sky didn't fall. It's still up there. I can look out the window back there. Yep, sky's still up there. Sky didn't fall. No one was triggered. Nobody felt the need for a safe space that had pillows and puppies and Play-Doh. None of that needed to happen. Why is that? Could it be that disagreement is not something bad? The right to free speech is for speech against the government. It's not the right to speak on a campus. No one has that. And this is another tactic they like to use, claiming that only the government is not allowed to suppress speech, which they're not wrong. Only the government is not allowed to suppress speech. However, they use this idea to shut down any debate. They don't like debate because they can't defend their ideas. If they could, they would just debate. And like I said earlier, while the government may not be authoritarian when it comes to suppressing speech, the culture sure as hell is. Just look at these outrage mobs. And I was watching a video not too long ago. I'll put a link to the video in the description. It's from the Rebel Media by Lauren Southern. And she makes the point that free speech is something that everyone needs to defend from anybody, including the state, including the culture, that tries to suppress it. Another point she made was that authoritarian culture becomes authoritarian government simply because the loudest people are the ones who influence the government. If that's the case, if these people start influencing the government in the right way, we could very well see hate speech laws in the United States. And I truly believe that if these people had their way, they would try to outlaw any speech that disagreed with their ideas. I don't know how far they would go to do this. They've already shown they will do something illegal, pull a fire alarm, to shut down an event they don't agree with. What makes you think they would not use the power of the state to suppress dissenting ideas? So you agree that a university should welcome a speaker who says people from a certain race should be exterminated? You advocate limits on speech, no limits on speech whatsoever? The rest of individuals or groups? Calls to violence? Yet another tactic these people love to use. You see, incitement to violence is already illegal. If a guy goes up and makes a speech about how we should go to the nearest black neighborhood and start burning houses down or something, that would be illegal. But here's the thing. They take the idea of someone saying, hey, why are you trying to censor a speaker you disagree with? Let's take Christina Hoff Sommers, for example. I don't think she advocates genocide. I hope she doesn't. But anyway, let's take Christina Hoff Sommers, okay? They wanted to stop her from speaking. And when you point out that, well, why are you trying to shut down dissenting views? They'll always come back with this idea of, oh, well, do you think we should just allow someone like Hitler to speak? Which makes no sense. No one's advocating genocide. No one's advocating violence. No one is advocating harassment. Well, except you guys. So why are you trying to use this as an excuse to shut down somebody who just disagrees with you? I mean, I don't even know why I asked that question. Of course we know why you're trying to use this, because it's an emotional argument. You're arguing straight from emotions. Most people probably would not support somebody who advocates genocide or something like that. And you know that, so you're going to use that, and you try to equate somebody like, I don't know, Christina Hoff Sommers. Use her a lot in this example. Christina Hoff Sommers to Adolf Hitler. And plus, has anyone ever tried to bring somebody on that actually advocates violence? Anyone ever tried to bring a Klansman in there? Like a Grand Wizard of the KKK or something? Or maybe a neo-Nazi? No? Then why... Do you think this is just something that happens? Do you think people actually invite speakers that do this? Because I haven't seen it happen. Granted, that was a loaded question that tries to frame that SJWs, or social justice warriors, are the only people trying to block university speakers. They're the only ones that are. I mean, where are like anti-feminists trying to shut down feminist events, or men's rights activists doing that? Where are they at? Oh wait, it's the other way around. Idiot. Maybe you should gain a little self-awareness before tweeting. Now, I've said this before. Not in a video, but in real life. That the reason these people try to censor is because their ideas cannot stand up on their own. They can't stand dissent because they can't defend against it. They know their ideas will be completely dismantled. So they have to suppress speech. They have to make it sound like, at least, their ideas are the most popular. Because, hey, they're the only ones speaking. They're the only ones being allowed to speak by these outrage mobs. I remember when atheism was popular, when it was popular on the internet to talk about. And it seemed kind of a subversive topic, something a lot of people didn't want to talk about. Because, well, the atheists were so offensive and strident and blah, 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 blah. Well, a lot of the responses of many of the atheists, including some that are now social justice warriors, their response was, well, who cares if you're offended? If you're offended, that just means that you probably can't defend your views. Who does that sound like now? Well, not them, I'll tell you that. It's just weird to me that things that used to be the domain of these religious conservatives are now the domain of the same people that condemned these conservatives. Free speech is more than just a law. It's an idea. An idea that I value very greatly. An idea that everyone should value very greatly, because it's the only way we know what ideas people hold, and it's also one of the best ways to expose bad ideas to the light and eventually dismantle them.